I'm nervous about moving away from my family.
Mm.
I think that's one thing that I'm really scared of. But I feel like it would be good for me to live on my own for a bit and really knuckle down of what I really love and really study.
Hold on to your champagne glasses, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see every glossy wedding photo and perfectly posed Instagram shot. We're talking about Brooklyn Beckham, the oldest son of David Beckham and Victoria Beckham, and the marriage that many believed was straight out of a modern fairy tale. From the outside, it looked flawless. Wealth, fame, style, a global last name that opens every door. But behind the smiles and staged photos, there are claims that the relationship began to fall apart in ways no one expected. So, what went wrong? Was it a clash of personalities, family pressure, or something deeper that could leave a permanent mark on the Beckham legacy? The wedding itself was breathtaking. It was so extravagant it made historic palaces look simple. Private jets, designer dresses, flashing cameras, and red carpet entrances. Every image shouted perfection. But while the world saw a dream ceremony, insiders say tensions were already building behind the scenes. For months, quiet rumors hinted at betrayal, control, and emotional manipulation. According to unnamed sources, the problems were too serious to ignore. Stories began to circulate about heated arguments, secret messages, and uncomfortable confrontations at private dinners. Moments that even seasoned gossip writers reportedly found shocking. So what truly happened once the cameras stopped rolling? Who was really pulling the strings? Was it the weight of being part of a global brand, a strong-willed wife, or a powerful family empire so tightly managed that it makes reality television look mild? Let's go back to the beginning. Brooklyn Beckham grew up in a world where privacy simply didn't exist. As the eldest Beckham child, he was born into non-stop attention. Every decision, every relationship, every career move has been judged publicly. The expectation was clear: follow the family model. Be stylish, be successful, be composed, be everything at once. Model, influencer, husband, son, and do it all under constant scrutiny. But living in a spotlight isn't always glamorous. When your life plays out in headlines, even personal choices can become public debates. Then came Nicola Peltz. She grew up in a wealthy family as well, but one known for keeping a lower profile. Their environment was said to be supportive and private, far from the non-stop media circus Brooklyn had known his entire life. For him, it may have felt like stepping into a completely different world. At first, that change might have seemed freeing, but according to people close to the couple, the period leading up to the wedding was anything but peaceful. There was the dress situation. Victoria Beckham reportedly offered to design Nicola's wedding gown. On the surface, it appeared to be a meaningful gesture, a future mother-in-law creating something special for her son's bride. But at the last minute, that plan fell through. Nicola ultimately chose to wear Valentino instead. Insiders claim this decision caused tension during what should have been a joyful time. Then came the moment that still gets talked about. The wedding dance. Picture the scene. Hundreds of guests watching. Music building, Brooklyn and Nicola preparing for their first dance as husband and wife. A moment meant to belong to them alone. But then the microphone reportedly went to Mark Anthony. According to sources, he announced, "Let's welcome the most beautiful woman in the room." And instead of the bride's name, he said, "Victoria." The room reportedly went silent. Nicola stood there stunned, confused, trying to hold herself together. What happened next only added to the discomfort. Victoria began dancing with her son. She was said to be guiding him through the steps, while guests looked on in shock. For Nicola, it was reportedly humiliating. For others in the room, it felt deeply awkward. People close to Brooklyn claim that moment hit him hard. After years of living under expectations tied to the Beckham image, he allegedly began to see how little space there was for him to create his own identity. For decades, the Beckham name has represented discipline, ambition, and polished perfection. But perfection can come at a price. According to those familiar with the situation, personal happiness may have been pushed aside in favor of protecting the family brand. And that's where the real question begins. When your life is built around image, who gets to control the narrative? The family, the spouse, or the person living it? Because once the red carpets are rolled away and the photographers pack up, what remains isn't a fairy tale. It's real life. And sometimes, real life doesn't match the picture at all. Modeling, acting, public appearances. Every step carefully planned to protect the family image. One mistake, and the headlines would be ruthless. Step out of line, and suddenly every word, every expression, every breath would be examined. This was never just about a dress, a dance, or a small wedding misunderstanding. It represented something much bigger: control versus independence. Family expectations versus personal freedom. One insider reportedly said, Brooklyn didn't just feel boxed in by fame, he felt boxed in by love. Nothing felt unconditional. Then came a move that many saw as quiet but powerful. After the wedding, it was reported that Brooklyn Beckham added his wife's surname to his own. He became Brooklyn Beckham. It may have looked like a small change on paper, but to many, it sent a loud message. He was stepping out from under the shadow of David Beckham and Victoria Beckham and claiming a stronger sense of self. At the same time, David and Victoria stayed mostly quiet. No public arguments, no dramatic interviews. They chose silence. But in a world where image matters, silence can say more than words ever could. Fans started noticing details, social media unfollows, vague captions, subtle changes in online behavior, small signals that, when put together, suggested something wasn't right. It felt like the family tension was unfolding in real time. Some people defended the Beckhams. They argued that decades of support, wealth, and opportunity shouldn't be ignored. Others sided with Brooklyn. They asked a different question: how many people have the courage to challenge the system they were born into? How many can distance themselves from a powerful family name without facing backlash from fans, tabloids, and even siblings watching quietly from the sidelines? By the time official statements appeared online, it was clear this had grown beyond wedding gossip. It had become a struggle over identity, a clash between tradition and independence, a son trying to define himself outside a brand that had demanded excellence for decades. And the public was watching closely. Every tweet, every post, every single like, because when a family that appears untouchable begins to show cracks, people don't just notice. They analyze, they debate, they become fascinated. And this situation was no different. If you thought the wedding moment was the highest point of the drama, think again. Behind closed doors, things reportedly intensified. According to unnamed sources, people who preferred to stay anonymous, there were claims of secret text messages, heated disagreements, and tension that even major gossip outlets hesitated to publish. In the weeks after the wedding, insiders say Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz began to see what they described as a deeper layer of control. The Beckham brand, according to these claims, wasn't only about public appearances. It supposedly influenced daily routines, social media activity, and even personal friendships. One source described it as more than strict parenting. They compared it to living inside a carefully managed reality show, where someone else writes the script and the audience critiques every moment. There were also rumors about excessive luxury becoming overwhelming. Expensive gifts, private events, constant displays of wealth. Some say the lifestyle felt less like freedom and more like obligation, loyalty to the family image above everything else. An anonymous guest allegedly described the situation as living in a gold-plated cage. Everything looked glamorous on the outside, but the expectations never stopped. The cameras never blinked. Meanwhile, the public reaction was intense. Social media exploded with theories. People analyzed every Instagram story and caption. Hashtags began trending within hours. Online discussions multiplied, with strangers debating family dynamics as if they were insiders. There were even questionable leaks claiming private meetings, tense dinners, and arguments over small issues, including details as minor as who would handle leftover wedding food. Many of these reports remain unverified, but they added fuel to the fire. One particularly dramatic rumor suggested that Victoria Beckham personally stepped into Brooklyn and Nicola's career decisions. According to that claim, she allegedly discouraged certain projects and insisted that every professional move fit neatly within the Beckham image. Whether all of it is true or not remains unclear. But one thing is certain: what started as a dream wedding slowly turned into a story about power, identity, and the cost of carrying one of the most famous last names in the world. Online forums, especially Reddit, turned into non-stop debate zones. Some users defended strong parenting, saying guidance is normal in a high-profile family. Others argued it crossed the line into emotional control dressed up as love. At the same time, tabloids rolled out dramatic headlines. Beckham Bride versus Brooklyn, Is Luxury Love a Prison, and When Fairy Tales Turn Toxic Inside the Empire. The tone made it clear. This was no longer just gossip. It was becoming a full narrative. Then came even more explosive claims. A few sources hinted that there was a quiet divide forming within the family itself. According to these whispers, siblings were subtly being pushed to choose sides. If true, that meant tension wasn't just between parents and son. It could have been spreading across the entire household. Anonymous friends claimed Brooklyn Beckham felt increasingly alone, publicly criticized, privately pressured, caught between loyalty to his family and commitment to his wife, Nicola Peltz. And then the rumors shifted toward money. Some reports suggested that the influence wasn't only emotional, it extended into finances. There were whispers about limits on investments, brand agreements tied to certain conditions, and contracts that allegedly required alignment with the family image. According to one unnamed source, it wasn't about money, it was about leverage. When Brooklyn finally shared his first public statement, it didn't feel minor. It landed like a shockwave. Social media split instantly. One group praised him for standing up for himself. Another accused him of turning private family matters into public drama. The story was no longer hidden in quiet conversations or private messages. It became a live spectacle. Every new headline added fuel. Every rumor sparked another round of arguments online. The big question became, how far could this go? Would this situation permanently change how the world sees one of the most polished celebrity families? Or would the Beckham family image survive, appearing strong on the outside, but quietly divided within? One thing seemed certain. Once the fairy tale cracks, the damage is hard to contain. And this story was just beginning. Just when people thought it couldn't get more intense, the tension escalated. Brooklyn and Nicola weren't just trending. They were challenging the carefully managed image built for decades by David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. According to insiders, what started as wedding tension had grown into something much bigger. A serious family conflict unfolding in public view. Some leaks claimed David and Victoria were caught off guard. They reportedly believed staying silent would prevent things from spiraling. But once Brooklyn shared his side, the situation couldn't be contained. Imagine growing up in a family where loyalty, control, and public image are the foundation, and then deciding to challenge that structure. That's how many observers described it. Social media reacted instantly. Hashtags like #BrooklynBreaksFree and #BeckhamDrama began trending worldwide. Reddit discussions exploded with theories about secret meetings, unfollowed accounts, and possible quiet distancing within the family circle. One supposed insider even claimed younger siblings were being advised on how to handle the situation publicly. It started to look less like a family disagreement and more like a strategic battle. Except this one involved emotions, reputation, and global fame. Then came talk of legal tension.